The office was noisy that morning. Phones were ringing, coffee cups were clinking. People were talking about deadlines and reports. But then, loud laughter echoed through the break room. It was the boss, Mr. Carter. Sharp suit, shiny watch, expensive shoes, and a mouth that never stayed shut. He stood near the coffee machine with a group of employees, all smiling nervously. Right next to them was the janitor, an older man, quiet, wearing faded blue overalls. His name was Ben. Most people didn't know that. They just called him the cleaner. Mr. Carter pointed at Ben's mop and said, "You know, I always wondered, how smart do you have to be to clean floors?" Everyone laughed, even if they didn't want to. They always laughed when Mr. Carter did. Ben didn't say a word. He just kept wiping the floor. But then the boss stepped closer. "What's that, cleaner? Got something to say? Or are you too dumb to speak English?" Ben looked up slowly. His eyes were calm but sharp. The room grew quiet. And then he spoke. Just one sentence. It wasn't English, it wasn't Spanish, it wasn't French or anything anyone recognized. It was something else. The words were smooth, almost musical, but also powerful, deep. Everyone froze. What the hell was that? Mr. Carter laughed again, but this time his voice was shaky. "What language is that supposed to be?" Ben said nothing. He just looked at Mr. Carter for a long second, and then went back to mopping. Later that day in the break room, people whispered, "Did you hear what he said?" "No idea what language that was." Sounded like some spell or code. One young intern named Lena pulled out her phone. She had recorded the moment. She tried using an app to translate it. Nothing worked. Even Google couldn't identify the language. "That's impossible," she muttered. Mr. Carter heard about the recording. He stormed into the break room, grabbed Lena's phone, and deleted the video. "You don't get paid to spy on the janitor," he snapped. "Focus on work." But something had changed. People started looking at Ben differently. Some were curious, some were nervous. And the strangest part? From that day on, weird things began happening. The next morning, Mr. Carter came into the office shouting, "Where's the Henderson file? It was right here." The file was gone. The backup was missing too. It couldn't explain it. Later, the server crashed, only for Mr. Carter's email account. At first, he blamed his assistant, then the intern. Then he screamed at HR. But nobody had touched his files, except maybe the janitor. But that didn't make sense. Ben didn't use computers. He didn't even have a smartphone. He used an old flip phone that barely worked. Yet, wherever Ben walked, things felt different. Calmer, colder, almost like the air changed around him. Lena couldn't stop thinking about what he said. She tried searching online. No match. She played the sound into AI tools. They all failed. Then, she messaged her uncle, a linguist who taught at a university. She sent him a clip she managed to save. The reply came back fast. "Delete this, now. Don't ask questions." Lena stared at the message, confused and scared. She looked over at Ben, who was quietly polishing the floor near the elevator. He moved slowly, almost like he was listening to everything. That's when she decided. She had to know who he really was. That evening, as people left the office, Lena stayed behind and watched. Ben finished his work, cleaned the mop, and left through the back door. She followed him from a distance. He didn't go to a bus stop. He didn't walk toward the city. He walked into the park. And then, he vanished behind an old gate no one used anymore. Lena stood there frozen. That gate led to nothing but an old utility building. She looked again. No sign of Ben. He had disappeared. The next day, Mr. Carter came in with a big smile. "Got a meeting with a billionaire client today," he boasted. "Try not to mess it up." But when the client arrived, he looked angry. He had found emails, leaked documents that ruined the deal. Mr. Carter was confused. "Where did you get these?" The man only said, "Ask your janitor." Mr. Carter turned pale. Ben? The client left. The deal was gone. Mr. Carter ran to the cameras to find proof, to blame someone. But when he checked the security footage, Ben wasn't on it. Not once. Not arriving. Not cleaning. Not leaving. It was like he wasn't real. The entire office felt different now. People tried to act normal, typing emails, answering phones, attending meetings. But something had changed after Ben spoke that strange sentence. That one line no one could understand had left a mark on everyone's mind. The janitor who barely spoke had just spoken something that no one on earth could explain. Lena couldn't stop thinking about it. She sat at her desk, staring at the small audio clip she secretly saved. She played it again. The words were smooth but powerful. It wasn't just a language. It felt like a warning, like something bigger. Her hands trembled as she searched online again. Unknown languages, lost ancient speech, alien tongue, untranslatable words. Still nothing, and That message from her uncle haunted her. Delete this, now. Don't ask questions. Mr. Carter, meanwhile, was losing control. His failed deal with the billionaire had shaken the board. His passwords were changing without explanation. His calendar, meetings were getting messed up. Emails were disappearing, and Ben, just the janitor, seemed to be watching. Quiet, calm, polishing the same floor as if nothing had happened. Keep him away from my office, Mr. Carter barked to the receptionist. I don't care if he needs to clean. Tell him to stay out. But Ben didn't stop. Every day he came to the office. Every day he cleaned Mr. Carter's glass door, and every day the boss grew more nervous. One afternoon, Lena gathered courage. She walked up to Ben while he was wiping a window. Hey, what language was that? Ben paused. He looked at her and smiled. A soft, almost sad smile. You're the only one who asked, he said. Lena blinked. So, will you tell me? Ben leaned closer and whispered, It's not from here. Not from Earth? Ben didn't answer. He just handed her a folded piece of paper. Give this to your uncle, he said. He'll understand. Lena took it with shaking hands. How? Do you know who he is? But Ben had already walked away. That night, Lena called her uncle. She read him the words written on the paper. There was a long silence. Then he said, Listen to me carefully. I don't know who gave you that, but I've seen these words once, before, a long time ago. Where? In a closed file at the university. Language from a stone found in Antarctica. The symbols didn't match anything. We called it the sky script. The government took it, made it disappear. Lena's heart pounded. What does it mean? I don't know, but whoever wrote it, they weren't human. The next morning, Mr. Carter arrived late and furious. He had received a package at home. Inside it was a photo of him cheating on his wife. The photo had been burned around the edges like it came from a fire. No name, no return address, but on knee. The back, in faint blue ink, were the same strange symbols Ben had spoken. He ran into the office. Where is he? Where is that janitor? Everyone stared. He's not here, said Lena. Mr. Carter charged into the security room and played the footage again. Nothing. Just as before. Ben didn't appear on any camera. Not walking in, not working, not leaving. The cleaning was done. But Ben didn't exist on tape. Lena knew something had to be done. She went back to the old gate in the park where Ben had vanished. She pushed through the rusted door and walked toward the empty utility building. But it wasn't empty anymore. Inside, she found a small room, walls covered with maps, symbols, languages from different civilizations. Some she recognized, most she didn't, and in the middle, Ben. He sat in a chair, reading a book filled with strange letters. He looked up. You shouldn't be here, he said softly. Who are you? Lena asked. "I'm not from where you think," Ben said. "Why are you here in our office? Why are you cleaning floors?" Ben closed the book. Sometimes, to watch the powerful, you must walk among the ignored. Back at the office, things were spiraling. Mr. Carter's secrets were leaking, one by one. Corruption, tax evasion, cheating, abuse. No, one could trace who was exposing him, but each leak had the same strange mark, the same language, the same calm silence afterward. And Ben was nowhere to be found. After that night in the hidden room, Lena couldn't sleep. Her mind kept going back to Ben's words. Sometimes, to watch the powerful, you must walk among the ignored. She didn't fully understand him, but something told her. This man wasn't just a janitor. He was someone with a mission, someone with secrets, and she had just stepped into something far bigger than she was ready for. The next morning, Lena walked into the office early. The halls were quiet, still. She went straight to the records room, a place where old employee files were kept. Most people never touched them, but Lena had access. Her job in administration gave her the keys. And now, she was searching for Ben's file. She opened drawer after drawer. Nothing under Ben, nothing under janitor, nothing by face recognition either. It was like he didn't exist. But then, tucked between two folders under security staff, she found a file with no name, only an ID number. The photo inside was Ben's. Her heart skipped. She opened it carefully and froze. The file wasn't a work document. It was a classified case report from a military agency. Top corner. Property of Project Echo, Level 6 clearance required. There were no job records, no emergency contacts, no salary, only surveillance notes. Subject blends into civilian environments. Limited communication. Monitors targets silently. Linguistic ability. Unknown origin. No match in Earth-based databases. Mission unknown. Do not approach without escort. Lena backed away from the desk, shaking. She had just found something she wasn't supposed to know. Suddenly, the room lights flickered. A buzzing noise came from the ceiling, then a click behind her. The door locked. Outside, Mr. Carter was pacing. His world was falling apart. Daily leaks were destroying his reputation. Reporters were calling, clients were pulling out. His wife had left him. And someone had just emailed him a photo of a Swiss bank account, his, which no one was supposed to know about. With one word written on the screen, watched. He was being hunted. But by who? Then, something clicked. He rushed to the main server room, grabbed the IT guy by the collar. "Where are the janitor's logs? When did he clock in? Where is his entry ID?" The tech stared at him. "There are. No logs, sir. He was never registered." Back in the locked records room, Lena panicked. She banged on the door, but no one heard. Then, buzz, the light blinked once more, and the door opened by itself. She looked out. The hallway was empty, but a sticky note was now placed on the outside of the door. It said, "Some things should stay buried. B." She held the file close and walked out slowly, checking every corner. But no one was there. Ben had come and gone again. Silently, just like always. Later that night, Lena went to her uncle again. She showed him the file. He stared at it for a long time, then whispered, "This isn't just rare. This is forbidden. These projects, they're not supposed to exist anymore." "Who is he?" Lena asked. "What is he?" Her uncle looked at her carefully. "There's an old theory that some languages were not made by humans, that some words came from watchers, beings meant to keep balance. No one believed it." He turned the page and showed her a strange image. It was a drawing of an ancient figure holding a mop in one hand and a glowing scroll in the other. Lena's blood ran cold. The face looked just like Ben. Meanwhile, Mr. Carter was reaching his breaking point. The more he tried to erase his secrets, the faster they spread. One evening, he found a note stuck to his office door. This time, it wasn't words. It was a line of symbols. He stared at them, angry, confused, but something about them made his head hurt. The longer he looked, the louder the sound in his ears grew. A humming, a pulsing, then snap. The light bulbs in his office exploded. The screen turned black, and on it, one line appeared. "You were warned." Lena thought she had seen enough. The file, the secret language, the power outage, the strange warnings, but nothing prepared her for what she found next. It all began with a sound. Late one evening, after most workers had gone home, Lena stayed, back to organize files, though in truth she was trying to learn more about Ben. That's when she heard it, a soft tapping sound, like footsteps, but too slow, too careful. She followed it through the quiet hallway, past the elevator, into the janitor's storage closet. The door creaked as she pushed it open. But Ben wasn't there. Inside, everything looked normal. Brooms, mop, old buckets. But Lena noticed something strange. One of the walls had scratch marks, not random, but in straight, careful lines, like someone had drawn symbols. She touched the wall. Click. The mop rack moved sideways and revealed a metal door. Behind it, her heart skipped a beat. This wasn't a storage room, it was a passage. Lena stood frozen for a moment. Every instinct told her to walk away, but curiosity pulled her forward. She stepped through the door. The hallway was narrow, cold. Dim lights flickered above. As she walked deeper, the air changed. It felt heavier, like the building had secrets. Too old to carry. Then she saw it. A room with thick glass walls, and inside a huge screen showing live camera feeds. One by one, the feeds changed. Offices, conference rooms, employee homes, even her own apartment. She gasped. Someone had been watching everyone. On the wall beside the screens was a dusty plaque. Project Echo, eyes everywhere. Below it were 5 folders. Each one had a name. Martin Carter, the boss. Kevin Rhodes, company lawyer. Sarah Dean, head of finance. Harold King, media partner. Lena Winters, her name. Lena's fingers trembled as she opened her own file. Photos, voice recordings, even a journal entry she wrote 3 years ago. "How did they get this?" she whispered. Then, from the shadows behind her, a voice answered. "Because they never stopped watching." She spun around. Ben was standing there, calm like always, but this time his uniform was different. Not a janitor's. It was dark, armored with a strange symbol on the chest. She backed away. "What is this? Who are you?" Ben looked at her quietly, then stepped closer. "I came here to observe," he said softly. "To watch the ones who manipulate others, who use power to break people, your boss, your leaders, your systems." He looked at the screen where Mr. Carter's face appeared. "They've gone too far." Lena was breathing hard. "So what are you going to do?" Ben didn't smile. He didn't blink. He simply said, "Balance must return, and it starts with truth." He walked to the control panel, pressed a few buttons, and, suddenly, the screens went dark. A red light blinked. "System override, public release in 48 hours. Lena stared at the timer counting down. Ben turned to her one last time. "You wanted to know who I am, Lena? Now you know." He reached for a switch near the exit. With a loud hum, the floor below began to shift, and from beneath the glass, a second chamber slowly opened. Inside was a massive archive of sealed files, tapes and discs, every secret the company ever tried to hide, and all of it was about to go public. Ben looked at her and said just 3 words. Decide who's watching. Then he disappeared into the shadows. Lena stood alone, the countdown ticking, and a decision that could change everything. The red numbers on the screen ticked down. 59, 58. 47, 59, 57. Lena stood frozen in front of the massive display. Every second that passed brought the company closer to exposure. Every secret, every lie, every crime. She had a choice to make. Let the truth out. Or stop it before it tore everything down. She rushed out of the hidden room, heart pounding. The office above was still quiet. But the world outside wouldn't stay that way for long. Ben was gone, no trace of him, just the memory of his warning. Balance must return. Lena now understood what he meant. Her boss, Martin Carter, had built his success on lies, hidden accounts, silenced employees, fake charities, and now it was all about to be exposed. Lena ran to the only person she trusted, her uncle. She showed him the countdown, the data, the recordings. He looked through it slowly. This is enough to destroy every powerful name in that building, he whispered. But if this goes public, you won't be safe either. I know, Lena said, but I can't ignore it. Her uncle sighed. Then you have one day to prepare. Meanwhile, Martin Carter was in full panic mode. He had just received another message. This time, it was a video of him in a private meeting bribing a government official. The voiceover said, "At 8 p.m. tomorrow, everyone will know what you've done." He slammed his desk. "Find that janitor," he screamed at his security team. "Find that girl!" But it was too late. Lena was already planning her move. Back at her apartment, Lena packed a small bag, hard drive, documents, the secret file, and her phone. She contacted a news reporter she had once met, sent a sample. The reply came quickly. "We're ready, but are you sure you want to do this?" She looked out the window. It was raining. Thunder cracked in the distance. She typed back, "Yes, the world deserves to know." As night fell, strange things began happening. Her power cut out for 5 minutes. Her front door lock made a clicking sound. Someone had tried to get in. She knew who sent them, but Ben had left a note earlier, slipped under her door. It read, "Stay calm. I'm watching." And in that moment, she felt a little less alone. Inside the company, security scrambled. Files were being deleted. Phones were smashed. But they didn't know about the backup hidden underground. The one Ben had activated. They didn't know the countdown couldn't be stopped. And they didn't know Lena had her own plan. At exactly 6:30 p.m., 2 hours before the deadline, Lena walked back into the building, calm, focused. She passed the front desk. No one stopped her. She headed straight to the main conference room, where Martin and his team were meeting in a panic. As she entered, every eye turned to her. "You," Martin growled. "You're behind this." 59 minutes left. The city lights flickered. Inside the tall office building, people were panicking. Outside, the world remained calm. But not for long, because in just under an hour, the truth was going to explode across every screen. Lena stood near a coffee shop across the street, staring at the glass windows of her company. She had done everything she could. She had shared the documents with journalists, uploaded the encrypted files to secure drives, and even backed them up on servers. She didn't fully understand. Now, all she could do was wait. Her phone buzzed. "Are you okay?" The message was from the reporter she had contacted, Rachel. "Yes, I'm ready," Lena replied, even though she wasn't sure she truly was. Inside the building, Martin Carter sat in his office, pale and shaking. Lawyers rushed around him. One was on the phone, shouting into the speaker, "We need an injunction. Shut down every site connected to this leak." Another whispered, "What if it's not just online? What if someone's distributing it on drives? Martin slammed the table. This can't happen. I built this company with my blood. The head of security entered. She's not working alone, he said. There's someone else, someone smarter. Martin narrowed his eyes. The janitor. At that same moment, in a dimly lit apartment a few blocks away, Ben was working quietly. No janitor's uniform, no cleaning supplies, just a computer system connected to 4 screens and a timer. 44 dough, he sipped tea. Watched the data upload. He had spent years preparing for this. Years watching the way powerful people used others like tools. He had waited for someone brave enough to help him pull the final thread. Lena was that thread, and now everything was unraveling. Across town, Rachel, the reporter, sat in a newsroom. Her editor stood over her shoulder. "This better be real," he said. Rachel nodded. "It's more than real. This story will break the city open." She clicked a button. A video of Martin Carter, offering bribes, blackmailing officials, laughing. As he destroyed lives, filled the screen, the editor's mouth fell open. "My God!" Rachel turned to him. "We go live at 8/6. Everything drops then." The editor gave a shaky nod, and just like that, the truth had a launch time. Back at the office, Martin tried one last trick. He called Lena. His voice was cold, almost desperate. "You think this makes you a hero?" he asked. "No," Lena replied. "But maybe it stops people like you from laughing again. You'll be buried in lawsuits. You'll lose everything." Lena's voice didn't shake. "Then I lose, but I won't stay quiet." She ended the call and stared at the time. 0.2919. Just then, something unexpected happened. A power surge. The lights in half the city blinked out for 5 seconds, then returned. Lena's heart stopped. She received a text. "Ben. Someone just tried to crash the system. They failed." Lena. "Was it Martin?" Ben. "No, bigger." That word sent chills down her spine. At 7:45 p.m., crowds began to gather around screens. Social media was buzzing. Posts with strange red countdown timers were appearing everywhere. People were asking, "What's going to happen at 8? Is this a joke? Is someone exposing the government?" But no one really knew the truth, except Lena, except Ben, except Martin, and the people who were about to lose everything. 15 minutes left. Lena stood on a rooftop now, watching. The city lights glow beneath the sky. The wind tugged at her hair. Ben appeared behind her, silent as always. "I thought you'd be far away by now," she said. He gave a small smile. "Some moments you don't run from." They stood there, together, facing the moment the world would finally know. Then, 8 p.m., the screens went black. Then one sentence appeared on every device, billboard and TV. "You were lied to," and the first file opened. At exactly 8 p.m., the world changed. Every screen, from office monitors to street billboards, lit up with one chilling sentence: "You were lied to." Then, the files began to drop, one by one. Each document exposed the ugly truth. Names, dates, crimes, corruption. The first video showed Martin Carter in a private meeting, laughing about how easy it was to bribe city officials. Then came the secret: contracts. The missing charity funds. The illegal firings. People across the city froze, staring at their phones in disbelief. Newsrooms scrambled, live streams exploded with views, and Martin Carter, he watched it all unfold, helplessly, from his glass office. Security rushed in. "Sir, should we shut down the servers?" Martin didn't even answer. He just stared blankly at the screen, where his name was trending worldwide, next to the word criminal. His phone rang non-stop. Lawyers, investors, board members. One text message stood out. You built your empire on silence, but not everyone stayed silent. Martin crushed his phone in anger. But it was too late. At the rooftop, Lena watched it all happen. Her hands were shaking, not with fear, but with the weight of everything she had carried for so long. Ben stood beside her, silent. "You did it," he said softly. "No," Lena replied. "We did." Down below, people were gathering in front of the company building. Some cheered, some cried, some just stood in silence. Inside the newsroom, Rachel, the reporter, wiped away a tear. She had never seen anything like it. In just 10 minutes, millions had watched the truth come out. In another 10, the police would show up at the company. The world was awake now, and it wouldn't go back to sleep. By 8:30 p.m., Martin Carter had left his office in handcuffs. Cameras flashed, people shouted, but Lena didn't celebrate. She just turned away and walked toward the edge of the rooftop. "Will they fix anything?" she asked Ben. "Maybe," he said. "Maybe not. But they'll remember this day," he added. And that's how change begins. The next morning, newspapers called it "The Truth Drop," the day a janitor and a girl brought down giants, how silence was finally broken. People began asking questions at other companies. More files leaked, more secrets came out. It was like someone had turned on a light. And now, no one could turn it off. Lena returned to her small apartment. She had no job now, no title. But she had something better. Peace. And something unexpected came in the mail the next day. A small note. No name, just a sentence. "You were never just an employee. You were the echo." Inside the envelope was a single golden pin. It read, "Balance." She smiled, because the world hadn't changed overnight, but it had started, and that was enough. 6. Months had passed. The world hadn't gone silent after the truth dropped. It had only grown louder. The name Lena Harris had become a symbol, not just of rebellion, but of courage. She no longer walked the crowded streets as an employee or a whistleblower. People now looked at her differently, some with admiration, some with fear, and some with quiet revenge. Martin Carter sat in a courtroom now, his suit wrinkled, his power gone. One by one, victims stepped forward. Each told their story. Each exposed a new piece of the rot that had been hidden for years. The judge didn't just listen. He felt the weight. And in the back of the courtroom, Lena sat quietly, watching justice breathe. Meanwhile, Ben had vanished. No one knew where he went. Some said he left the country. Others believed he was still watching, still listening. One day, Lena received an email from a private, hidden server. "You did your part. I'll keep doing mine." There was no name, just a file attached. Inside it, documents from another company, another lie, another beginning. Lena had a choice now. She could walk away or become something more, a voice for others, a light in dark places. She decided to speak, not with anger, but with truth. One cold morning, she stood on a stage. Hundreds watched her. Thousands streamed her words, and she said, "I was once just a girl in an office, a girl no one listened to, a janitor no one looked at. But power doesn't come from titles. It comes from knowing when something is wrong, and having the courage to speak anyway." The crowd went quiet, then stood and clapped. Not because she was a hero, but because she reminded them that they could be one too. Later that night, Lena sat by her window, sipping tea. She looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, Ben was still, watching. Somewhere out there, another lie was waiting. But tonight, the world was still. And the echo of truth? It had become a roar,